Cafe. I'm usually Stanley Nyuvingita. According to a 2022 national survey by the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, that is NACADA, 1 in every 6 Kenyans aged between 15 to 65 years, which translates to about 4,733,152 people, are currently using at least one drug or substance of abuse. So this coming on the backdrop of NACADA in collaboration with other stakeholders hosting the National Substance Use Prevention Week. So today we're joined by Susan Maua, who's the manager on public education and advocacy, as well as Diana Uma, who is a senior public education and advocacy officer, to help us have an outlook on the use of drugs and substances in the country. Remember, you can be part of this conversation on our socials. I'll definitely have them introduce themselves more, as much as I've had the titles. Then I'll start with you as well as Susan, before we start.
Okay. Thank you for having us on the show. As you have said, my name is Diana Uma. I'm a public education and advocacy officer at NACADA. And basically, we are here just to talk about how can we be able to help our country in terms of ensuring prevention of what we've been seeing. Like you have rightfully said, that there's a problem. And so we are able to come and talk about what can we do, what should we do, so that we help our people. Thank you.
All right, Susan.
All right, so good morning, everyone. This is Susan Maua. I'm the manager in charge of public education and advocacy. And I'd like to say, when we talk about public education and advocacy, we are basically protecting people from themselves. Because when it comes to drug use, alcohol and drug use, you really must initiate the use before you can even end up with a problem. So for us, when we talk about prevention, we are more like preachers, protecting you from getting into what we can see ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you for having us here.
Right. And remember, back at home, you can always be part of this conversation on our phone numbers, 0795-045-864. You work credits are here. If you have bundles, go to WhatsApp and just send in any question or feedback that you have, 0793-267-279, 0793-267-279. Ladies, before we start and have an outlook of the NACADA 2022 report and survey that was done for a period of 5 years to understand how the numbers are looking like as a foundation of this conversation, before we actually take a look at the prevention, let's take a look at Stano's work. Stano is an illustrator on People Daily, and every single day on page 10, he always has something for us. But today, it's something that has to do with this conversation. Start with you, Dan. It's just back here. What it has to do with this conversation. What do you see?
Well, I see the lady who is brewing, and she's confident that she will not stop brewing because there's someone who is protecting her. In as much as people are dying, she's not going to stop it anytime soon. So this is a problem that we are going to face if nothing is done as a country.
So when you look at it, because there's so many images there, is there anything to do with prevention there?
Yes, there's a lot to do with prevention. Because if we can talk to the person receiving the money and tell them that is not supposed to be done, they should be protecting people. If we can talk to the people who are victims now before they become victims and enable them to make choices and decisions that they don't go to the Mama Pima, then we'll be talking about prevention.
Right.
Yes.
Maua, what do you do? Because I always feel like in every single art piece, everyone has their own
story to tell.
Yes.
Yes, I see Mama Pima, because that's what they are called. And as Diana says, Mama Pima is very confident that she can continue. And that is because they are customers. You know, if she did not have customers who eventually become victims, then she would have no one to sell to. And therefore, her business would die in the process without, and therefore, even the one who is receiving the bribe may not have anything to receive anymore. Yeah, so the lady is keeping so many people in business. Mm-hmm. Remember the one who is taking the who is taking the money or taking the bribe has a crown, meaning that is actually somebody in employment. Yes. So Mama Pima has employed somebody else. Yeah. Even the one who is receiving is in employment. That is why he continues to come every time to receive something. But if Mama Pima stops, or if we are to reverse this trend, if she stops, there would be no need for the person who is receiving the bribe. There will be no need for it. The victims probably they would die, but not from illicit brews. Yeah. So it means that that trend can be reversed, particularly for those who are still living.
And so, because I can also take a look at this cartoon and see that there's no one who's trying to prevent her from doing from continuing what she's doing. Both of you can see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can tell you that behind that there are also other factors that you cannot see there. One has to do with, you will be surprised that she's also in a WhatsApp group. Yes, a merry-go-round where all brewers are together. So should you be arrested, all you need to do is to call. Yes, all you need to do is to call. Should you be arrested and you're fined, then the people in your group will contribute
To have you bailed out.
to have you bailed out. So there are many more people that you're not seeing in that picture. The justice system is also part of it. Yes.
Right. And this was to have a foundation of our conversation and to also even understand how things are. NACADA released a report last year for the 2022 survey. That was also take a look at it and to just also have quite a number of, so shows 1 in 53 Kenyans aged 15 to 65 use cannabis, and 1 in every 6 Kenyans aged between 15 to 65 are using at least one drug. And I'm curious, I mean, I'll start with you, Leona. Where did we, and how did you reach here as a country?
Well, there are many factors that contribute to that. And I think as we'll talk, you realize we're trying to point you towards prevention. Because when you look at the young generation that are using this, it means there's a problem. There's a problem from our families, which is the core of the society. There's a problem in our schools, which from family we go to school. There's a problem in our workplaces. There's a problem in the community. So it means either as a community, we are having weak laws, we are having weak regulations, we are having people who don't really care about life, like the cartoon is telling us. And we also see that from families, there are problems in the families. And some of these problems are the ones pushing these young people to start using at a young age. So what we are looking at in terms of prevention, what can we do correctly in these settings, especially starting from family? How can we bring back that sanity in our country? And part of prevention, we want to also now celebrate the number that is not using drugs or substances, because we're told it's 1 out of. So what about the 9? We want to know, how do we encourage so that everybody gets to the 9 who are not using substances?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm also reminded, I was thinking about this cartoon, and as much as you're saying the whole WhatsApp group, and then I'm reminded, probably when we ask the lady, she'll say, lakini mimi niko na watoto 15. Ama niko na watoto 10 na wengine 5 ni wajukuu. Nataka nifanye nini? And she'd say, mimi sijapata any alternative. So even as we talk about prevention and an outlook on these numbers, that can also be a factor. I mean, they'd probably say, you haven't given me any alternative, Susan.
And that may be true, but I can tell you as we speak, in Uasin Gishu, there's been a program that has dealt with what they call reformed brewers, because there was a conversation with them that this what you are doing, how is it contributing to the bigger problem that we have in Uasin Gishu. So they came up with the program, and now those women are doing a totally different thing. So that is one of the stories that you can say has worked with regard to the brewers. I can tell you that once upon a time, as part of my training, I worked with people in Langata Women Prison. And I decided to focus on the petty offenders, because that is where they're actually going to fall. Again, when you look at our justice system, they are considered petty offenders. So I focused on these ones who, you know, are out for, you know, they are in for a short term and so on. So a few of them then would say, you see, this is what, you know, I rely on. It is what feeds my children. It is what does this. I said, okay. So now, just suppose that that is the case. Why are you inside now? Because it comes back here. Remember, this person continues to collect. So now that you continue to give, why are you here this time round? I did not have money. So if you did not have money to give him, why didn't he just let you, yeah, you know, get the money so that I can come for it tomorrow or later? That didn't happen. So then you begin to see that that person is not helping you. There is no one time they are going to say, now that you don't have today, let's leave it at that. Yeah. So I said, okay, let's look at the process of even getting the illicit brew, because it was changa that the women were in because of sale of changa, and they couldn't raise the fine, and therefore you're in because of that. So I said, okay, how much do you even buy this for? How long does it take? What is even the process? Yeah. And that's why I'm saying there's a whole chain. You'll find she needs to wake up earlier than 4 a.m. so that she can get it from wherever she gets it from. Then there are the matatus that ferry it, and this matatu must also be paid for it. Then, so when you calculate the amount of money that she gets, it's actually not the brew that is keeping her family going. Yeah? And now that she was in, who is taking care of the children? So you see, that is a conversation when you have with Mama Pima, then she begins to see. For sure, it is actually a cycle of poverty that I'm in. And if I do something which is safer, yeah, I would be able to still take care of my family and not always have to look behind. Because you see, she's always looking behind to see, is that guy coming? Yeah. And remember, he's not alone. Because if it is in the city like this, you could have the ones from the county there, then you will have the policeman, and I've told you about the matatu who is also ferrying it and so on. So there are so many people that she has employed. At the end of the day, there is nothing she's actually making out of it. It means there's something else that she's doing. Yes.
To top it. A follow-up on what you're saying, that program in Uasin Gishu, is it also in other counties? Because according to the same report, Western region was topping the prevalence, about 26.4%, followed by Eastern 20.7%, and Nairobi 19.1%. I'm curious, how is the scattering of these programs in different counties?
Well, it started with Uasin Gishu. And remember that as this week, we have been focusing on prevention. Yeah. So that we are raising the voices of people in the community. What is it that you are doing, and how can we replicate it? Yeah. So we're just talking of Uasin Gishu. I hope you know that Kijabe also does not have alcohol. So in the summit that we are going to have tomorrow, tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, part of the people that we want to hear from, what is it that Kijabe is doing that ensures that all these years they do not have alcohol? So yes, what has happened in Uasin Gishu is something that we would like to replicate. So can many more people hear about the story of Uasin Gishu, the reformed brewers? What is it that they have done? it shows it can be done. And therefore, can we replicate the same?
Right.
So it is a story that we'd want to be told so that it is done in other places,
Right.
including that Western Kenya. Because when you go to Western Kenya, in some programs you've done, they'll tell you, busa ni chakula. So you see, when the view of the traditional drink that it is food, yeah, changing that perspective is something that takes a while. And therefore, you are going to find an even higher prevalence of particularly traditional drinks. So, you know, previously the perception has been central.
Yeah.
And then now, the 2022 survey shows that is actually not the case. So even the people of Western are shocked. But I can tell you, even the leaders there are beginning to say, okay, we need to do something about this. So we now have even more activity, even with the counties in Western Kenya, beginning to address the issue of alcohol in their region, because from the survey, it's showing they are actually leading. Yeah.
Right, Oma, let's go back to the family unit. And you had mentioned it when you were starting, and it was the first unit that you started before you cross over to schools. And mostly the family unit even focusing on young children, because the young children start in the family, and the schools, before they get out to the whole society.
Yes.
Would you say that we are losing the pillars of family and how structured they were, let's say, back in the day?
Okay, we can say there have been dysfunctional families, and like I told you, when things are not right in the family, then it boils out to the society. So for us, we are looking at, can we go back and teach our people, give them information, give our children the right information so that they're able to make choices, tell them the facts, demystify the myths and misconceptions that people have about alcohol and drugs. As family members, can we be able to sit down and discuss with our children? We also need to give them preventive education. Are we giving our children skills, critical skills that they need to survive? Refusal skills, decision-making skills, because these are some of the things that as children grow, as they come out to the society, if we don't teach them this, when they face a challenge, and we've seen a lot of it in the media, they face challenges, they either turn to drugs or they commit suicide. So from the family, is there a way both parents, both children can be addressed? If it's parents, can we teach them about positive parenting? What do they need to do? How do you talk to your children about issues of life? Because the reality is you need to tell them, tell them about alcohol, tell them about the effects, tell them about what they'll experience when they use these substances. Give them those skills so that they're able to make decisions. When they're faced with tough choices, do I run for alcohol to, ease my problem, which at the end of the day we know will not ease your problem, you'll be adding more problems. So it's important as a nation, we start from the families. Let's get to do things right in our families. Let's direct people, let's teach them, let's guide them so that they make the right decisions. And like you see there, if you're able to let your children know and make informed decisions, what will make this child, when they are continue to grow up, want to go and use those substances if you have already told them what the consequences and what can happen to them.
Right. So
for me, it starts at the family before we get out of the family. Can we start teaching from there? Both parents, both young people. And for us as NACADA, right now we're trying to work with especially faith-based churches, because that's where we get families, so that we have trainings on what do we need to do. How can we help our parents be able to raise children who can resist issues of substances? Yeah.
So even for this Mama Pima,
Yes.
there's a high possibility that even the children who she has, and even the wajukus, they might also be seeing, so this is what mom does. Well, anapata do, basi si mbaya.
Yes. So like we talk about risk factors. So children raised here are exposed to a lot of risks. So when they see it, sometimes because of the pressure, they might use it. Some instances you find that as they sell, their customers are saying, if you're selling to us, can someone in your family try it so that we know it is safe? So there's that risk that these children are exposed to. And you see, they're more vulnerable. We talk about vulnerability. There are those who are vulnerable and because of such exposure. So these children are likely to grow up thinking it is okay. But you see, we are not protecting them at that young age. If they start using, even their brain has not developed. So they're likely to enter into addiction at very early ages. So it starts from there. Can we teach people, you know, parents, protect your children, guide your children, do what is right by your children, don't expose them, you know? And protective factors are those factors that are there, you know, just ensuring that your child knows I'm cared for. I am loved, you know. I have someone I can talk to when things are not working for us. For a long time, we usually think that as adults, we're the ones who are stressed. But even children are stressed, you know. Do they feel comfortable coming to talk to you as a parent that I'm facing this? Even in school, maybe a child is bullying them. But if as a parent, you're not able to, you know, your child is not comfortable coming back to tell you, this child will suffer. And probability of this child having mental health issues or even entering into substances is very high because they're facing a challenge, but in the family, there's no one they're feeling comfortable to share their issues. So we are saying we start from there. Can we teach our parents to have positive parenting skills? Can we talk to our children to have life skills? So that is how we look at it in terms of prevention, because when we do that, I strongly believe we'll have a better future.
And just to continue the whole even parenting skills more, right now children are even below 18 are being parented in the digital era. Right now you'd find in a huge percentage of households there's a smartphone there and the child has access to it. So this really has to speak on matters access. On this, you know, access on social media and even, you know, different digital apps, they're able to just order with a tap of a button. Inafika kwa hapo delivery, to deliver a letter. If it is alcohol or whichever kind of drug, anafika. There's not much due diligence when it comes to the whole, you know, digital kind of space. How are you working on this, even as, you know, from NACADA, when it comes to matters access and also even preventing such kind of you know, happenings?
That's actually a challenge that now we have to address, considering the changes that has happened over time, and this was even heightened during COVID. Actually, that is when we even had to talk about a conversation about online sales. So as NACADA, one thing that is being done is to review the law. This so-called Mutudo law. You know, people remember it as Mutudo law, but it's the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act of 2010. So review so that it takes care of online advertising. Yes, in the 2010 law, it talks about advertising, but it was not anticipated that you'd also have this. So that has also to be reviewed and be incorporated. And so if we are backed by law, then it means that we then can address the issues of online advertising and even sell. Because if you try, it is true, if you try to just order, because I've tried to do that. Because, you know, in public education, you need to tell people about what you have also checked, you know, check your facts. So if you try, they only say how should not be accessed by people below the age of 18, but there's nothing to verify.
Yes, I mean, it'll just ask you, are you above 18 years old?
Yes, tick, and then you are able to. So as part of what we do in public education, when we are addressing parents, these are some of the things that we bring to their attention. And not just alcohol, because alcohol is one of the most common substances. Remember, they can also do, they can also buy even things like cannabis. Yes, online. In as much as it is illegal, they can also do it online. So just being, bringing it to the attention of parents that these are some of the things that you can do. And we call it parental monitoring. So the conversation with your child and also parental controls, just like we do with other gadgets in in the house.
Yeah.
In any case, who bought this gadget we are talking about?
The parent.
It's the parent. So what are you putting yourself through, even as you do this? Yeah.
But then now, almost some would say, fine, I have regulated the gadgets in my house. But then sometimes they'd expose these children through alcohol and substance abuse. But then probably they'd say, I didn't mean to, or in other ways. For example, having one of those mugs that inatumika kukunywa chai ama maji tu kwa nyumba, but then it has a brand of a particular alcohol. Is that also exposing the child, or it's harmful? Because the parent would argue it's an empty mug, it's just empty. It's there in the kitchen too, but is that exposing? And maybe also some toys, for example, that are just there. They resemble some alcoholic or some substance abuse, but the parent would argue the child is not using. In any case, they'd also see this, it's social media or out there. So I am not exposing them. Are they wrong?
Well, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing about media advertising, particularly when it comes to substances, first of all, it's very subtle. And two, the people they are targeting are those ones. The ones who are easily impressed. Those are the people who are being targeted. So when you see advertisements, it's not about those who are using. You're already in the box. They are looking for that person. So that even a 2-year-old, if those adverts come on the screen, they can tell you, "Ata mimi nataka teremsha na marafiki." Because you see, it comes, and you can see people seem to be very happy as they are doing this and so on. So the persons being targeted are usually the young people. And that is why you find that as part of the same Alcoholic Drinks Control Act, it says it is illegal to actually make substances, including alcohol, in a manner that entices children. Yeah? Yeah, so that when you have things like, maybe no alcohol, but when you have like cookies, if it is made in form of cookies, who likes cookies? It's the children. If it is made in form of sweets, who are you targeting? Definitely it's the children. If you make it in form of juice, who likes juice? It's the children. So that's what I'm saying. It's usually very subtle. Yeah. And you see, when it comes to advertisement, they will ensure that they give you things, first of all, they are long-lasting. Yeah. So even if it's a table mat, it's going to be around for a while.
Yes.
If it's a mug, it's not going to crack easily. Yeah. So that subtle way, if you have it, then what exactly are you telling the child? So before you talk about the outside person as a parent, what are you also saying? And what are you doing? Because it's a monkey do. It's a monkey say, monkey do. Yes. And it's not about what you say, it's more about what you do. So even in as much as those adverts are there, can you use them as a teachable moment? Then you let the child know. Even if you are using and you are struggling with it, yeah? Just letting your child know. Because you cannot say it is bad and you're using. Yeah, when I grow up, I would like to be like my dad. And this is what my dad is doing. But supposing you told the child the challenges that you are having, quitting.
So you go way beyond even telling them?
Yes, it's way beyond it. Yes, I'm using, but I'm struggling to quit. I want to quit, but I'm struggling to quit. So, letting the child know the challenges that they are likely to have. I'm actually suffering where I am. It's not like I am okay with it. Then they will actually see that it's not all rosy when you get into drug use.
Alma, your thoughts?
Well, just to add on what you said, when you have toys or you buy those things for your children, it seems like you're endorsing. You're okay with it. And at some point, children look up to us as parents. So when you bring something that is an imitation of that thing. I'm sure you've seen even when you buy guns for your children, toy guns, what do?
Yes.
They shoot and imitate and expect you to die and all that. So when you bring these things, like you said, it means you're endorsing. But we're saying, can you tell your children the truth about substances, you know, that this is what will happen so that they make the right choices. I usually like the Bible verse that tells us, you know, for those Christians who believe in the Bible, that train up a child in the way they should grow, and he will never depart from it. And for all of us who are here, at some point there are things that your parents did that when you're somewhere without them, in your subconscious, when you want to do something, you remember it is wrong. So as parents, let's not buy things. And if possible, like she was saying, during COVID, you know, there was a lot of challenge in terms of families. Not everybody was enjoying being closed and confined in the family. Because if you're a parent and you're stocking these things in your house, what are you communicating to your children? And if your child starts using early, what will happen? You know, it is you as a parent who stocked it in the house, your child so you're exposing your children. So it is, if parents can avoid exposing their children, then we can at least help some of the kids. Right. Because we realized during COVID, a lot of children were exposed. And a lot of them, that is where there were many problems. When they went back to school as a nation, we saw what was happening, and it was because of that confinement and what happened in the homes. Right. So we need to make our homes alcohol or drug-free.
Right.
Yeah.
Back at home, you can tell us if your home is actually drug-free. WhatsApp number 0793-267-279. 0793-267-279. Just text us. Or rather, if you have any questions, throw it in. Experts will be telling you. Or if you actually prefer us hearing your voice, call us 0795-045-864. We'll be very happy to listen in to what you're telling us. In case of any question or feedback, 22047 is our SMS number. At TV47KE on Facebook, we'll be sampling more of your feedback there. And so even the whole purpose of this prevention week, as much as you're taking a look at, well, as you're saying, those in abstinence, those in recovery, and you know, just focusing on prevention. Mm-hmm. I want us to focus a bit on those in recovery. Mm-hmm. Last year, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said that there has to be rehabilitation centers will be built in every single county. Mm-hmm. And we've definitely seen, you know, the government pushing for, you know, curbing drug menace. Maua, I don't know, your thoughts on rehabilitation centers in the country. Mm-hmm. First of all, do we have enough? Secondly, are they as effective as they should be?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that question. Do we have enough? What comes to mind is, okay, you have sick people. And if people are dying, do you want to build more mortuaries so that you just keep storing them, or you would actually want to do something so that you don't have as many? Yeah? So that is one thing that we would want to ask ourselves. So rehabilitation facilities are there. Most of them are around Nairobi, Kiambu. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just talk of the metropolitan areas. Yes, Nairobi, Kajiado, Kiambu, a lot of them are around that area. So you would not say, and there are certain counties that don't have any rehabilitation facility. But just like I say, would you want to have as many rehabilitation facilities, or you would actually want to prevent people from being in need of that rehabilitation, right? So that is one. The other thing that I would want to say is we have, when we talk about rehabilitation, we're talking about inpatient. Mm-hmm. But outpatient also just works as well. Yeah. So not everybody requires inpatient treatment. So part of what we do as NACADA is build capacity of health professionals so that they can be able to, you know, handle the situations. Because at least you know that in every county there is always is it called Ward 5 or Ward 7, where you usually have the psychiatric wing. Yes, so you will find that in every county referral hospital. At least today we have all the counties with that referral hospital. So it means that with the capacity of health officials built, they should be able to handle some of those cases at the health facilities without necessarily requiring rehabilitation, right? I mean, like inpatient rehabilitation, because inpatient rehabilitation, first of all, is expensive. In rehabilitation, we also have relapse. When somebody gets in, they are locked out of drug use because now they are in a safe environment, they are away from the substances of abuse. So we have, it's a 90-day program. So somebody will be in, will look very healthy. Any other medical conditions that they have has also been dealt with. But the moment they step out, they get into the real world, then the real problems also come because the brain does not forget.
And now on that point is where I'd like to pick up on the real problems. Because, I mean, fine, this person underwent, all those days, about 3 months program, but then now they come out. But then are communities equipped in matters of prevention of the drug and substance abuse, considering the fact that each and every single community has their own beliefs, belief system, they have their own traditions, and they believe well in a family setup. For example, hypothetical, this person is called, let's say Brian, for example, Mary. Then wamemaliza 3 months program. Wamekuja, it's a family setup, nini family traditions around December. What work on Itanga, let's say someone central, Ratio, for example. And Nambio, no, I mean, you have to, because it's a family tradition. It's a cultural tradition. You have to engage in this, taking. People around this person may not understand, no, this person should not. Does this really pose a huge factor when it comes to the prevention?
Actually, it does, especially for people who have gone through rehabilitation. That's when they come back and the relapse is real. Because remember, they're coming back to this environment. Like she said, when they're in there, they're away from the substances, they're away from the influence, they're really working hard to recover. But when they come back, like you say, some of the challenges they face, the society, you're the same ones as a family wanting to tell him, we are celebrating, you need to take. The minute this person takes again, they will relapse. So the challenges are real. When we come out from rehabilitation, if we take this person back to that environment that was exposing them, and remember in this environment, there could be many reasons why somebody's using. For us, we usually say when somebody's using a substance, there's an underlying issue. If the underlying issue is not dealt with, then this person will probably go back to drinking again or using the substance of choice. So of course, there's that environment, the family, are there aware what not to do and what to do to help this person in their recovery journey, There are those issues that if this person had that they were dealing with, if they are not dealt with, they'll come back out there. They're exposed back to that. If probably this person did have, like a real job to do, then they come back and they're sitting there. Definitely they'll find their way somewhere and get the substance. So it is a challenge. And one of the things that we usually tell people, if you take your person for rehabilitation, please, there are sessions that you're invited as family so that it helps you understand how do you deal with this person when he comes back. How will you be able to help this person walk their journey? So when you go there, there are things you'll be discussed with. It doesn't matter, even if it's, for example, in the workplace, as an employee, you take one of your employers for rehabilitation. It's important to follow up, find out what is it you can do when this person comes back, you're able to support. Because when you bring them back to the same environment that probably made them use the substance, then you're not helping this person in their recovery. Definitely they'll go back into using. And usually when they relapse, it becomes worse for them. So we need to have that supportive environment. And that's why in prevention, we have different targets. Like I was telling you, we have the family, we have the school, we have the workplace, and we have the community. Now in community, we work with the community. It could be the school, wherever, just to tell them and make them understand, what are the laws saying? What are the regulations saying? What can we do in this environment to help our people who are in addiction. And from prevention, we usually have 3 main things. We are saying we are trying to help people avoid. If we can get that target, it is good. But if we can't avoid, then we help them delay the initiation use so that we push. You know, the way as children you're told you can't do something until you're 18 and you look forward to 18. So we are saying in prevention, if they can't avoid, can we delay the initiation? And again, we're saying in case someone has started, what can we do so that we help these people not to go into addiction, a state where now they have to go for rehabilitation and all that. And like Susan said, you know, when there's a problem, when people are dying, we're not going to build more mortuaries, but we want to find out why are these people dying? What can we do to prevent these people from dying? So it is the same for us. In prevention, what can we do so that we have fewer people going to rehabilitation? Can we stop them if they've started? You know, we stop them from getting into that level of going into rehabilitation. So that is what we are looking at.
And let me just ask you this as a follow-up. So this person has undergone the 3 months. But then in rehabilitation, I believe there are about 3 things that you know, they're trained to you know, forget, for example, you know, and you know, rehabilitate themselves from the people that they used to you know, surround themselves with, the places. You know, I believe the third is things.
Yeah, things.
Yes, the people, places, and things. So this person has undergone the 3 months. So when they come out, do you advise this person to? Because I mean, they say, nilikuwa naishi this place, specific place, somewhere in Marago somewhere, or somewhere in Nyakeminche huko mahali. So they've undergone the 3 months. Now after the 3 months, where should they go? Because we are advising them, don't surround yourself from the same people you used to, and the same people around Nyakeminche hapo. The place which is hapo, and also the things that you know, they used to do. So where would you advise them to go? Also, even as you give us your thoughts on the same. I mean, she says that, yes, in matters prevention, we talk to the community. But then is the community also rehabilitated to understand that when this person, and in you know, different rehabilitation centers, when they come in, this is how you unawalaki, unawakaribisha tena. Back to the, as much as, yes, we'll tell them about the laws, this is what, this is the effects, but then do we tell them that when ule brayo wetu akitoka pale, akirudi, this is how you welcome them back. Do you tell them that?
Well, something else that she did not mention, like you have also emphasized, community issues are different. Remember, I just told you about Busia or in Western, where they are likely to tell you Busa ni chakula. In fact, they will tell you about what Chang'aa can, some of the diseases that Chang'aa can cure and so on. So you see, when you are in that community, the first thing that what does, in as much as we have our statistics, you also want to find out what does the community think is the problem. So now we are in the process of initiating community work groups so that they can, you know, address the issues at the community level. So we have done a few counties, but we expect that over the next 3 or so years, we should have reached all the 47 counties, so that we have groups or different stakeholders coming together so that they can address the local issues within their community. Yeah, so that is one thing. The other thing that stands between the path of recovery and relapse is stigma. Because if I have been drinking and you call me mlevi, I have come from rehabilitation. What happens to the name? You continue to call me the same. Sometimes it's not just the community, it is also the family members. They say, you say you have been through. We shall wait and see how long you will last. And this is supposed to be your support system. So that person is likely to relapse because of that. Now, as I said earlier, the brain does not forget. So when somebody is in rehabilitation, part of what they need to critically look inwards are the triggers? What are your triggers? So it varies from one person to the other. They are going to talk about, oh, you see, for me, if I was drinking, then I would take it cold. Yeah? So you can imagine that advert that comes with a bottle that is breathing.
And 2 ice cubes.
Yes, and the ice cubes. You know, it knocks the head, the part of the brain that stored this. So that's a trigger for that person. So what are your triggers? And then how do you deal with the triggers? Because if your home is Nyakaminja, where else are you going to go? So how do you cope with the triggers? And that is where even support groups come in. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, so that you do not walk this journey alone. Yeah? You are with the people who also understand the kind of challenges that you are facing. And that is why you find people in recovery continue to talk about, I have been free of the substance for 10 years, 3 months and 9 days. It's because it's a day at a time. Yeah? So just being able to recognize that this is a journey that will have its setbacks that come in the form of things and people. Sometimes when you talk to the people in rehabilitation, you ask, okay, so do your friends know you're here? Sometimes they say no. What did you tell them as you're coming? Oh, I went on a journey. So when you come back, when you go back, are you going to tell them where you have been? If the person says no, you can be sure they are going to relapse. Even before they leave the rehab, you know they are going to relapse. Yeah. So are you able to tell your people that this is what I've been going through? And that is how then you make new friends. Because these are the ones, if they see you, they say, oh, where have you been? Kamata moja. Straight into where you have been. If you have been, for example, going to a specific shop, that's where you've been buying your cigarettes. Over time, even the shopkeeper, you don't need to tell them. They know which brand, they know how many you buy. Yeah? So whether you are buying single sticks, which is illegal, it's not supposed to be sold as single sticks.
And actually,
yes.
I want a comprehensive on this, because on Tuesday, or rather on Monday, we're having a conversation on matters tobacco, and also the curbing of it, and also the guest was there was also mentioning the same. But then now, the point of view that others will have will be why, because again, I mean, the whole reasoning behind it would be because the box, the packaging has the warnings, the graphic warnings. So when you buy single sticks, it doesn't have. Then some would ask, for example, if I was buying this pen, you don't have to force me again. As much as, yes, someone would argue again, this is harmful to your health. Give us a reason behind why it is illegal to buy the single stick.
You know, other than just the fact that it's supposed to be sold, in terms of even the messaging and so on, we have second-hand smoking, yeah? And that tobacco is not just harmful to the person who is smoking, even the one who is handling, including farmers, yeah? Those who are farming tobacco. Yeah, they are those who have been found to have, there was one study that was done in Malakisi that was actually showing that it is the growers now who are having cancers. And remember, it's not because they are using, it's because they are handling. Yes. So there are more risks, not just about the packaging, because it has actually been found that if you are going to have the packaging, the warning messages.
Right.
Actually, in certain countries like Australia, they've reached a point where the cigarette pack does not have anything. It is plain, not even the brand. Yes, so that you don't have Mastermind and BAT trying to advertise the product, so that it is plain. It's a plain pack. So that whatever you are buying, it is that plain, but you know how it is going to impact. So it's not just the user alone. Unfortunately, for the ones who sell single sticks, they don't know how much they're also exposing themselves to the challenges that have to do with actually tobacco.
Right, we'll hold that thought there.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, because we also brought up the whole bit of tobacco, to also even redefine and how, because WHO is really on top of this, and Kenya was actually benefiting having the tobacco farm projects that started in Migori last year. To also understand, is this also a bit of the also prevention and having the tobacco farms turned into other cash crops, so that the farmers there can benefit and all that. And also taking a look at other units like the school, our school system, the education system. Are we doing the right thing when it comes to prevention and all that? Remember, you can always be part of this conversation on our socials. Talk to us, send in questions as we discuss the National Prevention Week that ends on the 23rd, which is on Friday, to understand how this is. Stick around. In case you're just joining us right now, we're discussing matters curbing drug abuse, and the whole focus is prevention. And courtesy of NACADA, the National Prevention Week, which began on Monday, the 19th, going all the way to the 23rd, just talking about the ways, even as a society, we can loop ourselves into this conversation. And right here, so before the break, having a whole bit on matters tobacco. So just to also, expound on the same, because tobacco is the second on the prevalence, according to the 2022 survey that we had. So, Kenya was the first country selected to roll out the Tobacco-Free Farms project. The initiative supports countries in creating an enabling, supportive crop production and marketing ecosystem, helping farmers shift from tobacco growing to alternative livelihoods. So this is also part of the prevention that we are talking about, Uma.
Yes. Just to say, like Susan was saying, when you're selling that tobacco, it was discovered that actually no animal, even insects, use the plant. And if you've been seeing prior to telling them to have alternative, people in those regions were complaining. They're experiencing strange diseases, both humans and their livestock. So with time, they realize it's not really helping them much. They're now having another burden, which is the disease. And like she said, right from handling it, you might think that the smoker is the one affected, but from the farmer, is already having dire effects. So they're now looking for alternatives. What can be grown there? And some of these places, even getting something to grow on that soil is becoming a challenge because the soil is also experiencing the effects of the tobacco plant. So it is part of helping the community there because they are suffering from diseases that are arising from the plant itself. You know, before even they start curing it and until it reaches the process where it's a cigarette. So that is part of trying to rehabilitate the environment, trying to help the people that are there so that they can have alternative and now become healthy. And those effects, they hope that will reduce and wear off with time.
Right.
So that is the direction that this kind of project is taking.
Right.
Yeah.
And even as we talk about matters prevention, the e-cigarettes, according to a whole study in UK, the e-cigarettes come in handy when it comes to prevention. So initially was introduced to help those in recovery for the whole process. Do you feel like matters e-cigarettes can actually help in prevention?
You know, the tobacco industry is always trying to transform itself and create the impression that there are safe ways of doing it. Because remember, that is a way of countering the fact that the cigarette, you know, the traditional cigarette as you know it, the aspect of tar, that's the only thing that it removes. But remember that the active ingredient remains the same. The addictive part of tobacco is nicotine. So the active ingredient remains the same, whether it is an e-cigarette or it is the traditional one, or it is the one which is snuff, the snuff, yeah? It's the nicotine. So it just looks fancy. It just looks fancy, but the bottom line is the same. Yeah. So it's just a way of trying to transform itself to create an impression that this is a safer method, but it's not. Yeah.
Now to education system. As you're saying, in the 2010 Act, things have changed, and even the whole syllabus in the country. As much as now we're having the CBC, but do you feel like the education system has implemented some of this prevention materials when it comes to even teaching some of this young learners that when you go back home, you might see some of these things on social media, but this is the actual truth. And actually even having some models of even the lungs and telling them, so when you do this, this is what will happen to you. When you probably drink, this is what will happen.
Okay, well, as NACADA, what we've done in terms of education, we are purposely targeting to teach life skills. Because like when we look at it, even if you tell me that when I drink, this is how my lungs will look like, if I don't have the ability to refuse to drink, if I don't have the ability to resist peer pressure, I will still go ahead and drink. So for us as NACADA, what we're doing, and we've done in some of the regions and some of the schools, we are partnering with them, we're teaching them life skills, what we're calling life skills to alcohol and drug abuse prevention. We teach them about decision making, we teach them about advertisement, we teach them about the myths and facts about different types of substances so that they know the reality about these things. We teach them about, peer pressure. How do you resist peer pressure? Because that is something that influences a lot of these children. How are you able to say no? Because many of us are not taught how to say no. So those are some of the things we are teaching. We are looking at it from a life skills perspective. If we can be able to teach them this, then we are hoping they'll be able to be people who can make their own decisions, make the right choices, be able to resist, be able to withstand peer pressure and defend themselves. How do you even talk to a stranger? Why should you talk to a stranger? Things that we take for granted, but this is how they are enticed. And then we also work together with the Ministry of Education. And this was especially after COVID. You remember when schools went back and there was a lot of mayhem and everything. And we sat down and were able to come up with national guidelines on alcohol and drug prevention in schools. What should they do? Starting from classroom. how do you ensure that your classroom environment is conducive for these children? How do you ensure that your school environment is conducive for these children? Because remember, in school, besides the learners, you have the teaching staff, non-teaching staff. So what should you do in your school environment to ensure that your children are safe in the school? You know, we also have the outside environment of your school. How do you also deal with the outside surrounding your school to ensure that the children are safe? So that is how we were able to come up with those guidelines. And right now we're trying to take those guidelines to different, learning institutions so that we tell them, when you have children who are using substance in your school, how do you deal with them? We don't want you to chase them away, because when you chase them from this school, you're transferring the problem to another school. But how do you help this child deal with these issues? Right. Because remember, again, sometimes when children come to, especially secondary school, they come with a lot of baggage. We might not understand and we might think they've come to school, but they come with a lot. So can we even have guidance and counseling teachers, specifically not a teacher who is teaching CRE or a teacher who has passion to do it, but a teacher who is trained to be able to go through with these children. So for us, that is how we are targeting the learning institutions. We believe that if we do this, then we can be able to prevent our youth and young ones from going into substances. Yeah.
What does this conversation extend to the workplace, and how? Because, I mean, we find this young children in schools, but then now, I would argue, in workplaces, these are people over 18. So, fanya maneno.
Oh, yes. And remember, the workplace is now where you spend the longest time of your life.
Yes.
Yes. Even if you look at those, if you, let's say, got into the workplace at the age of 25 and you retire at 60, those are how many years of your life? And as we talk about peer pressure, you'd be surprised at the workplace. It's even more. Yeah? People experience more peer pressure at the workplace than when they were at school. They may have even escaped drug use in college, in school, in college, then they get to the workplace and say, this is how we do it. We have parties, and parties are not complete without.
Plus your time, at least your wallet is...
Yes,
yes, so
yeah. So again, in 2020, we did a survey for the workplace. In as much as we talk about the schools and so on, do you know that the highest prevalence is actually in the workplace? It's even higher than the national survey of the national prevalence released in the 2022 survey. So the workplace, and we are talking about public sector institutions, are the ones
in public sector is more?
Yes, it's more.
You've
got to have money. You see, you've got to have money to buy alcohol or drugs. None of those things are free. So you've got to be having money. So it is the people with money that are actually using more alcohol and drugs than the youth. So there is that's actually a misconception that it is young people who are using. And people are using drugs because they don't have jobs. No, you've got to have money to buy. And so the workplace is also equally affected. And that is why once we move from family and go to school, the next setting is the workplace. So whether we are talking about the informal workplaces and the formal workplaces, all those areas are targeted. And so even in the summit that starts tomorrow, we have conversations with people in the formal setting, and we also have even the Matatu Owners Association are represented, because they have a big following. I'm not saying it's an easy setting, especially informal setting. It's not very easy.
And also to add on that, because you'd find in most even informal settlements, for example, if it's Juakali, there's a long line of the Juakali, kuna kahoteli moja, and then 3 or 4 other bars there. Zingine, another whole setting of, if it's carpenters, wakimaliza tu jioni, it's 6 p.m., there is, a local mahali. Do you feel like there are too many bars in the country? And mostly in metropolitan areas.
And you know that even the Deputy President talked about that, and there had been attempts even to shut down so that you reduce the density. But remember, you put your business where your customers are. So when you see those ones close to the juakali and so on, it means that these are the people that they are targeting. And part of that problem is the counties, because you know that since devolution, part of what was devolved to the counties was licensing. So rather than regulation, you see revenue. So when you focus on revenue rather than regulation, then you are going to find them everywhere. And that becomes a challenge, because you can imagine if there was only a hotel in that juakali, then the only thing that these people would be eating is the food that is there. Then, baada ya kazi, they go and look for it, and probably they are too tired to branch anywhere, and they are just likely to go home. And I can tell you, I've seen people turn into alcoholics in those places. Yeah.
Just because it's readily
Just
available.
because it is readily available. And they don't even follow the law. They don't even follow the law, because you see, the wines and spirits, which are the most prevalent when it comes to small places that are selling. You know, according to the regulations of 2010, those places are supposed to open from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. But you find they are the first ones open. Before the shop selling bread is open, they're already open.
Kwa streets wanaita kutoa lock.
Yes, kutoa lock. And you know, the moment you talk of kutoa lock, that is actually a sign of addiction. If you need to open your eyes in the morning with alcohol, it's a sign of addiction.
But then now, because according to the Tobacco Control Board, they say 70% of tobacco users are in the informal settlements, and around there. According to the National Tax Association, really wanting to increase more taxes on such kind of products. Do you feel like, as much as we're talking about your survey showing that quite a number of them, the public sector and also even in the informal sector, so will increasing taxes be a form of also prevention? if for example alitoka juakali akakuja akapata alikuwa ananunua na 150, leo amepata ni 750, naona acha tu niachane nayo. Can that work?
For people who are working, it might not work. They will struggle to get money to get the substance of choice. Like Susan has said, you know, when you have money, whether it's juakali or you're employed, if you're using, you look forward, you will even save, you will borrow, you will do something, but it will not deter the person who has a problem. They will definitely look for resources to get whatever it is. The other time, beer prices went up, but people are still drinking. Of course, they'll complain, they will say everything, but at the end of the day, they'll still look for the money and they'll still get whatever it is they want. So it all boils back to, do we tell people, do the people understand? Like you said, it's a lot of pressure when we start working. You know, you come, you didn't know, but pressure from your friends, they influence you. You know, kama mwanaume, how do you go home early? We pass by somewhere.
Unafikaje ka jua bado iko.
Where are you? You know, they even enjoy kwani we ni kuku, you know. So that influence, if you don't have your own values, if you don't have your own principles, if you don't know how to resist, you will also pass by and do it. And money will not deter you. Because again, we usually help each other. Wewe leo, kesho mimi. So it's not a big problem at the workplace in terms of money. So it's very important even at the workplace. Like you said, getting to informal is a challenge, but we are trying to reach out to them to see how best they can be helped, you know, so that they also understand. At least for the public institutions, we were able to do that by when they were required to do mainstreaming. So a lot of them, we told them to do policies, we told them, how do you help people in your institution, so that, again, we are helping you to protect yourself from the dangers of all this. Yeah, right. Because you, like you said, you are an adult, but we're helping you to protect yourself. We want to take care of your health, because if you're not healthy, you will not be able to help the country much. Yeah.
Right. Your final thoughts before I cross over to Mawa, because we're out of time.
Okay. For me, what I would say is, as a country, we need to look at the most important resource we have is human resource. if we realize that the human resource, because you can have the machines, you can have the shambas, you can have offices, but if you have no one to care for those things, then we are not going anywhere. And for our society to grow and develop, we need to have healthy people. So it's important for us to help our people. Can we prevent our people to avoid using substances? If they can't avoid, can we delay? If they've initiated, can we help our people not to go into addiction? Because without our human resource, then even as a country, we are having problems. We'll be in big problems. So for me, let us do prevention. Start from family, go to school, go to workplace. Let us help our people to be healthy and well.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would want to say that according to World Health Organization, increasing tobacco and alcohol prices has actually been found to deter. Yeah. It may be a moot point when it comes to unrecorded alcohol and also the contraband tobacco and so on. So those are other underlying issues. As we are doing the National Prevention Week, I would urge people to join us on social media at NACADA Kenya. We are having that conversation there. We are also at BOMAS of Kenya, where we are, you know, all these settings that we have talked about, there are speakers who will be able to talk about the various areas that we have touched on today.
That's on Friday or Thursday?
On Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday, right?
Yes, Thursday and Friday. But on social media, we are on until Friday and even beyond. Yeah.
Since Monday, how's it been?
Great conversations.
Do you feel like you've reached your goals that you had set, Uma?
We are on our way. Yes, we are on our way because a lot of conversation is going on. Yeah.
Right.
And then there are people who are calling. We also had a webinar on Monday, and after that, people continue to call regarding the same. So it's an ongoing conversation.
Oh, yes.
So this is just to raise the awareness, but it's something that we'd want to continue to do. We also offer trainings, and so those who are interested in following this, so that you can make a better community wherever you are, you can also get in touch with NACADA. We talked about those in need of help. We also have our helpline that works 24 hours, 1192.
Okay.
You call, you will be able to speak to a counselor, so that, remember I said even outpatient works just as well, even telecounseling works just as well.
Excellent.
So reach out to us and let us make a better future that we would want to see in this country.
Right, asante sana. Diana Uma, Senior Public Education and Advocacy Officer from NACADA. Thank you very much for your wise words. As well as Susan Maua, Manager of Public Education and Advocacy NACADA, as well as a psychologist and a trainer as well. Asanteni sana. And as she says, this conversation goes and continues online on our X page as well as NACADA's page. Go and follow them and continue this whole conversation. The hashtag KE Prevention Week. And take a look at them. In case you have any questions that you want to pose, tag them at on your X page.
At NACADA Kenya.
Yours?
Oh, my personal.
Or they should just go to NACADA's.
Yes, they go to NACADA Kenya, and I will be tagged along.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we sorry.
I'm saying they can also visit our website.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a lot of information and books that can help those who like to read. There's a lot of information. So they can also visit our website to check the information.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Quite a hot conversation. Speaking of matters hot, how hot is it from where you're watching us from this morning? As we take a short break, when you come back, we'll be taking a look at how the temperatures have been around here. Inafika saa mbili asubuhi shatoa koti. Why is it that? We'll be getting an explainer from our environment report, and Shile Chelenga to just tell us why are we seeing all that. We're also asking you, what are you doing to cope with the hot temperature?